All right. Evan Price was originally on episode 298 of the New Music Industry podcast, and we had a great conversation about four elements to scale a creative business. Welcome to the show, Evan. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Today's conversation will primarily revolve around creating a nomadic lifestyle. As with most things, I would presume sequencing is quite important to freeing yourself up to live as a nomad. So, my first question is about how to package one's creative skills to create a viable business. And I
Hmm.
would imagine this is a bit of an extension of what we discussed last time. What does that process look like?
Yeah, I think the first part of that process, we've developed a model called the DLB offer model. It's just a fancy way of saying do less better. Stop doing so much. Stop having a lot of different various services that you offer. It's stealing your energy and it's keeping you from scaling. So part of that DLB offer model is identifying what is your superpower as a human, right? Like what is the thing that you can do or know that a lot of other people can't. I don't care how weird or strange or off the wall it is. There's somebody out there that would probably pay for it. So the first thing is identifying what that is. Could be audio engineering. It could be recording video. Could be editing video or photos specifically for Instagram. Like the more specific the talent and expertise is, the better you can sell it. The better you can position yourself in front of those potential customers. So a lot of what we do is work with creatives that of course do a lot of different things. They're pulled in lots of different directions and like I could do a lot of things. I'm a
Mhm.
jack of all trades. So first is identifying what that is for you, and then you can start to mold what we call a luxury offer around that, right? Instead of selling for pennies, we can sell for thousands because we're super clear and we've developed a path to success with whatever it is that you do. The best wedding photographer, the best you know plant photographer, whatever it really is. Identifying that is step number one, and a lot of times can be the hardest for creatives because they're like, I got to choose one. What?
Mhm.
But I think it's important, and it's helped me kind of build this lifestyle that I consider my dream lifestyle, right? I got no boss,
Mhm.
it's me. I got no, specific rent in one place that I'm signed into. I can kind of move and live freely. Not necessarily what everybody wants, but it's what I want. So it allows you to kind of build that life because you're focusing instead of scattered. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, this is the direction things are kind of going in the marketing world now, right? Where instead of having countless products, instead of having countless websites, people are now minimizing and creating a central portal and then leading people onto different journeys depending on what their interest is. And so I think it's well worth observing that, the bloated website of the yesteryear with thousands of irrelevant blog posts, it can still do something for you, but it's not of the same value that it used to be, despite all the effort that ultimately takes. And to your point too, like when I had one or two books, people knew what to buy, they were happy, they got what they wanted. As I got to be seven or eight books, people stopped buying, they're confused, they don't know which one to get. On my website, I only talk about my latest book now. So, yeah, streamlining is the direction things are going.
Yeah, and it's just streamlining not only your customer's focus, but yours. And
Yes.
both very important. The quote of a confused mind never buys
Hmm.
comes to mind. And I think that's true with whoever is providing a service provider. A confused mind never, scales. There's a new quote that's being thrown out here. But it's like it's that analogy of just like the cups, right? If you have a little bit of water in a 10 cups, the energy is just dispersed and nothing
Yeah.
really happens. But if you put all of your, eggs in one basket, so to speak, into one or two cups, you have more energy there that can actually do some damage. By damage, I mean help the customers you want to help with whatever the service is instead of spreading yourself so thin. And I definitely felt like I did that for many years, right? Right out of college, music business college, I was like, possibilities are endless, right? You're young and full of hope and full of like, I'm not sure what I want to do, and I love it. I went to a liberal arts school, so that was everybody basically. We're like, yeah, maybe this, maybe that. but you're just full of this energy that you could put everywhere, that you end up putting everywhere because we're young and we
Mhm.
could do that. I was marketing, I was learning how to market. This is when Facebook ads like first started rocking. I started marketing stuff on Facebook ads. I was managing acts. I was booking tours. I was
Mm.
doing all this stuff. And it's like, it was cool for a while because I got to dip my toe in, but nothing really ever took off fully. And I think it's because of what we're talking about here. I put
Yeah.
eggs. I don't know if you hear that rooster. We call him Robert. He's over there just screaming at all times. Not sure if it's coming through. But yeah, I put all of that energy in different places, and I was just like, eventually I hit what we all know is burnout. Right. I'm like, I'm not
Mhm.
21 anymore. I need to hyper focus. So that's where I took all those skills and packaged it into one single thing that I was really good at, did a little SWOT analysis of myself and said, where am I at? Where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses, my opportunities? Took them all, put them all together and created this one program under this one company. And that's what we help our clients do too. Not all of them are traveling the world being nomads like ourselves, but they just want more time with their family. They
Mhm.
want more time to do nothing, which is
Yeah.
sometimes exactly what we need. So, yeah, I think having that energy dispersed can only last so long.
I had too many things too. And so, I mean, I had a front-facing podcast that I would, attract customers with. And then I'd have one in the back end as well. It was members only audios. And I'm like, I'm committing myself to another weekly content creation schedule. And yeah, I think unfortunately it just couldn't sustain it. I ended up disappointing some people. As much as I think, yeah, I'm a superhero, I can handle it, I can do it. And it doesn't happen. Like used to be that by Friday I would feel pretty fried and
Yeah.
excuse the pun. And it was not
Yeah.
sustainable.
I think too, it's like we're talking about right now, like offers, right? Specific offers and
Mhm.
like products and services. But I feel like that also goes into like platforms. Even if you just had one thing, it takes so much more energy, more than you'd think it does, to not only be a master of Instagram, but also have a consistent presence on YouTube. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks, yeah, I have one offer. That means I can be everywhere. I call it the Gary V approach, which you just like put out content on every platform. Okay, buddy, like I love you, but not everybody can do that
No.
consistently and significantly to make an impact. So it's like it also goes into you're creating content, have one single, program, service, product. You don't have to be everywhere. There's enough people on one platform that you could literally focus there forever and still make plenty of money. Like if you just were an Instagram person
Yep.
and focused on there, you'd be fine. There's millions and millions and millions of people there. So I think that's another fatigue that happens too, is like platform fatigue and like feeling like I need to have audio. I need to have a freaking book. I need to be on Instagram. Like I need a blog now. Like you don't have to do that.
Yeah. It's so true. One traffic source and one product, assuming you're attracting the right type of people through your content and assuming the offer is the right one for them and it connects with them, that's probably all you need to scale to seven figures. That is Russell Brunson's claim anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's not a focus, right? It's just we all have the same 24 hours. Like
Yeah.
just go back to the energy, the cup analogy. Stop spreading yourself into another cups. Adding a YouTube channel is just another cup. It's the same water in another cup. So yeah, but kind of go back to the beginning of this. Like I think it is important to find that focus. But there's also value in like my story of like one would say you would need to be unfocused and try a bunch of different things to really find what you're good at. So
Hmm.
not to backtrack on that, but like if you're at a place where if you're like Evan David, like I don't know what my thing is yet, go and just do a bunch of stuff. Do the opposite of what we just said is what I would say. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
go and fail. Go and try a cooking class. Go take karate lessons. Go figure out what your passion is. Because if you don't know what that is yet, you haven't done enough things to figure that out. So then I would say disperse your energy. Be that 20-year-old, even if you're 40, and go figure that out. Because I think that's important too, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. I think you should try a bunch of stuff. I mean, my journey has been a lot about that. And, people will say I'm a fantastic writer, and I do believe them. I think I'm really great at what I do. And yet the challenge I was finding was, well, my books aren't consistently selling. Am I really that good? Or maybe I'm too good and I need to dumb it down for the market. Not dumb it down, but you know what I mean? Like make it
Mm,
more hyper relevant, hyper targeted, on point for the market that I'm writing to.
mm.
And that's the part that maybe I wasn't doing quite right in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps. Or maybe it's just the right people haven't found it yet. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
really the writing, maybe it's on the marketing. And
Right.
that's interesting that kind of your mind goes there because I see that the opposite with we'll go back to like musicians, creatives. They always think it's just a marketing problem. It's like they
Mm,
never even consider maybe the quality of my stuff isn't hitting. Maybe I could improve that. It's just like baffles my mind. So it's a balance, right? To
it
to be
is.
identify like, am I the problem? Is it just I haven't spent any money on ads? Is it because the marketing isn't hitting? Sometimes the messaging is really what marketing means. If your message isn't connecting with the people on the other side, then they're never going to read your amazing book or your fantastic, album, listen to your fantastic album because they don't know it's for them. So it's a balance to know like what exactly is the holdups. That's really what business building is all about. Like, is it a marketing problem? Is it a staffing problem? Like being able to identify that quickly is a skill. You just learn through time. I'm still learning.
I'm with you. I've come to realize in recent years that the sales process is far more important than the product, and not that the product's not important. It's just more a thing of how do you get people, or how do you get your product in front of people? That's the part that if you spent more time on, you would see better results.
Yeah, yeah. In a book, Ready, Fire, Aim, the author says Michael, I forget his last name. Michael says that most stage one businesses, which is like under $1 million, which is most of the people probably listening, maybe not. Good for you if that's not you.
Yeah,
Under $1 million, like 81% of your time needs to go towards money making activities, which is, in other
yes.
words, sales. And that's what people usually skip, especially in stage one businesses. They're like, I'm going to go on to building more products and I'm going to go on to hiring people. Like, no, 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 no. Sell stuff. If you don't know how to sell stuff, learn how to sell stuff. And that's really hard in my niche for creatives. No creative wants to sell. It's icky, it's slimy, it's gross. You're taking money from people. It's not what it is, but that's what they think. And I was in that bucket too until you like reshaped the way that you looked at sales. But back to that quote, like, I think that is really important. Like, it's kind of what you were saying here too, is just like most of your time needs to be consumed in selling. Not all the fancy shiny objects we convince ourselves is important, like which stupid font is on our website. Nobody
Yeah,
cares, right? Like
that's
nobody
what I
cares.
think.
Sell your thing. That's what you should focus on. And that's a really hard, tough cookie to crack with it, at least my niche is what I can speak to, is what I've been in my whole life. Creative industry, artistpreneurs, as I call them.
To offer, an illustration that I'm sure people can relate to, Think and Grow Rich is a
Mm.
book that sells millions of copies per year, but what people don't realize, it sells that many copies per year on accident. It doesn't have a sales process. It was a case where the title and the myth and the drive to be wealthy was so strong that the book sells anyway without a sales process.
And it
But
didn't
that's
do that instantly, right? Am I
no.
right? It like took I don't know how many years, I don't have the stats, but it took a while for it to really catch on.
Yeah.
Like most artists, Van Gogh didn't get famous until he died. It's just how it worked.
Exactly.
But I think that's what happened with Napoleon. Napoleon, who wrote that,
Hmm.
like
Yeah,
took a while for it to really hit.
he was perhaps more of an artist than we realize. He
Yeah.
ended up penniless late in life and got rescued by W. Clement Stone, who put him to work as a salesperson.
Oh,
When you realize that, it's like, wow, he had something great. He just didn't have a system.
didn't have a system. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said, it wasn't really the product. It was just hitting the right market. It was just
Yeah.
hitting the right timing in the right market. Timing is everything too.
Yeah. But that's a unicorn. So
Mhm.
knowing who you're trying to appeal to is an important part of the process. And I've sometimes found this tends towards the art of business rather than the science of business, although I think it's a balance. What is the process for identifying your ideal target audience?
I think defining what is the problem that you're solving, first of all.
Hmm.
Start with the problem, not necessarily like what's their marital status and things like that. You'll get there. What is the problem you're actually solving first? Then you can kind of create a product or service marketing around that. So I think it's really most people don't think about that. They think about demographic first and what they what the person looks like and the avatar, if you will. But it all comes down to the problem. So figure exactly what that problem is and what specific deep pain points are tied to that problem, right? Three main types of pain that a customer or a client, whatever, experiences. It's three S's here. One of them always it's a different S that escapes me every single time. But it's source pain, it is secret pain, and it is see, it's the third one that always escapes me. But it's
Right.
basically the first one is one they would tell everybody, right? Um, they would tell a room full of strangers what their problem is. Okay. The secret pain is one that they aren't really telling people, but they know exists. They know it's there and they're keeping it quiet until they trust you enough to tell you. Okay. And then the source pain is it's the real thing, the real thing that isn't the sexy thing that they know that's there as well, but they aren't addressing it like be better at sales. Everybody knows that. That's usually a source pain with people. So if you can identify what all three of those pain points are, you know your customer better than they do, than they know themselves. So yeah, start there. Start with what it is, the problem, what the pain point, what's keeping them up at night, what's humiliating them, and then you can kind of create marketing and strategies around that.
I think what I'm hearing is, and maybe another way of phrasing that is like internal and external pain. What's going on the inside? What's going on the
Exactly.
outside?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way you explain it. I think it always helps to hear it in a few different ways, doesn't it? With this kind of stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
I would imagine also like teamwork is a significant part of creating a nomadic lifestyle or location independent lifestyle. What are your best tips for building a team to make this happen?
First, be that team. I think that's important. Don't expect anybody else to do a job that you haven't done first. You don't have to be great at it, but you need to try it. You need to do it. I am not an ads person, not at all. But when I was building my business, I knew that it was a big piece. It was a big thing that was booming at the time, and I just learned the basics. I could go and launch an ad right now. Is it going to be fantastic? Maybe not. I'm not going to hit. I'm not an expert at it. I eventually found somebody who is. So learn the basics so you can start to figure out like what is a good role in this position? What does a bad role look like in this position? So creating those SOPs, those standard operating procedures for your team, good place to start with that first is do it, do the role, right? Sales and marketing, you've got like product and then service creation. And then, I would say a third one nowadays is like the face, right? We'll call it social media. It's not really marketing in my mind. It's just like, how are you going to create this persona, this personal branding? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be somebody else? Is it a faceless thing? So
Mhm.
start with those main roles and kind of build out from there. Because then once you do it for a while, you're like, this is hard. And this role, based on me doing it, I know requires somebody with X, Y, or Z with this background. And then you get a better idea of who you're looking for. Then finding people is easy. You just have to talk about what you do a lot more than you probably do now. Creatives love to not talk about their things unless it's music that we should listen to because it's out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
So
true.
it's like talk about it. Go to networking events. I've met a lot of my team members are either people I've known for a while or people that are considered competitors in my space that I just approach them and I was like, hey, looks like you're being a solopreneur and you're doing like similar stuff. Maybe you don't want to be a solopreneur anymore. And every time they're like, yes, please, God, help me. Let's join up. So that never would have happened if I didn't just ask and I didn't know what I was looking for. Hey, I need a coach right now. I'm doing it right now. I'm drowning. I need somebody with corporate branding background to fill this, and that's you. I only did that because I was doing it myself for a while. So
Mm.
yeah, I think that's a good first step. Do it. Did the answer?
I love what you said about social media not being marketing. I had a friend ask me about this, and I would love your perspective on it as well. But he was saying, like, I'm seeing all these brands on social media and their content is junk. They're not posting anything. And I said, well, to me, content is sort of a 3 or 4 step thing. There's content that attracts, there's content that engages or nurtures, there's content that converts. And then on the back end of that, once they've bought, there's content that retains. And each of
Mm,
those things are completely different. And if you show all your best stuff up front with attraction, not that you can't do that, but are you really saving anything for people to convert to and retain
mm.
with?
Yeah. Are you saying that's what you're asking your buddy, or that's what you're asking me?
That's what I was sharing with him, and
Yeah.
I kind of wanted your perspective on it as well.
Yeah, so you're kind of talking about, just to be clear, you're kind of talking about like giving away the keys to the castle
Right.
before. Yeah. I haven't my perspective is, I guess it depends. My disclaimer is it depends on the like industry that you're in. For my
Right.
industry, coaching industry, I'm going to talk to the other coaches and educators and freelancers and stuff. Give away all of your best stuff for free
Right. I've heard that.
because they still need you. We have jobs because we keep people accountable. Me giving a free video on how to do something is does not guarantee that they're going to go and do that thing. So what we want to do, I guess, as a social influencer or whatever you want to call it, is we want to build trust as fast as possible. You know, the know you like you trust you thing, everybody knows that. We want to get you there as fast as possible. And the best way to do that is just to teach and give you the stuff that you're going to get on the other end. So if you're a audio engineer that makes money, you know, doing projects, music projects, I know it sounds crazy, but go and make videos and show people how you do it. I know you think, oh, they're just going to learn and do it themselves. No, they won't. Most people won't. They're going to see it and be like, wow, he or she's giving away this for free. Oh, I also am learning how much of an expert they are. I guess I'll just hire them. It's easier.
Yeah.
That's what'll happen. So I definitely hear what you're saying, and it's valid for sure. It's like you're doing all this nurturing and you have nothing to convert to. The converting into a program like that is either done for you, the audio engineer example, meaning, hey, you can learn this all day long, but I'm just going to do it for you. You have the done for you, or you have the do it together, which is I'm going to hold you accountable and walk you through this process that I just gave you on social media, little bits here and there. It's not the full picture. It's like giving somebody
Mhm.
a jigsaw puzzle, a random piece once every 4 months. It's not the same as being like, we're going to do this in 4 weeks straight. So it's just a little different. So there's definitely a balance there too. Cause I mean, I'm on the team that just like everything I'm showing my clients, I'm showing to people on social media. So most people just don't do anything with it.
Exactly. I was going to say that. And what you said is very well articulated. I think at the end of the day, you could present $1 million idea in a video, and most people will not watch the whole video. Most people will not apply what they learn in the video. So
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if it serves the function of growing your business, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it should serve because you're getting people to trust you. And
Yes.
in this day and age, there's no trust. Everybody's a scammer. Everybody's trying to steal your money. Everybody's gonna just not give you any kind of product or service. And that's unfortunate that that's what we're wired to be like. We're immediately just be like, this is some kind of scam. This is some kind of pyramid scheme, huh? Like, do you even know what a pyramid scheme is? I don't think you do. You know what I mean? Just it's sad that we're all just like got our guards up when there's legitimate.
Yeah.
Most people out there are not going to screw you over, and don't want to just take your money. But I get it. I get it for sure.
Yeah, like certainly be cautious of random strangers that contact you through WhatsApp, right? I'm
Right.
I'm currently selling some household items, and it's almost like there's two morals to what I'm sharing here. But I'm selling one of my game consoles, and in fact, I might sell most of them the way things are going.
Oh,
But
no,
yeah,
no, don't do it.
right. So first of all, the reaction that I get, it's hilarious. I get contacted by dozens of people like this snap the moment it goes online onto Facebook Marketplace. And so right there, that tells me like I'm selling a few musical instruments too. So your priority in life is for a lot of people's entertainment, not a statement of judgment. It's just an observation that holy, like the reaction is so different. Like that 3DS, well, that's just an irresistible offer. I have to have it today. And then
3D.
and then the second thing was, oh, could you take a picture of the games? I'm like, I listed all of them. I took a picture with a stack of games. I'm like, fine, I'll take a picture of all the games for you. Here you go. Right. But like, I wouldn't waste anybody's time. Right. I
Yeah.
think in
Right.
their mind, like, but you're selling a cartridge that's worth $600 on eBay. It's like, but yeah, but nobody's buying it. So to me, that's also a thing of like, is it worth $300 today or $1,000 3 months from now?
Hmm. Who
And
knows?
there's no right or wrong answer. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a matter of how you want to handle that. I like what you said about networking as well. That's a big thing. I think really since day one of my podcasting, people have always been talking about it. That was a big thing for me because when I was in Calgary, I had connections with multiple band leaders and venue owners to where I didn't book my own gigs. If I was playing, it was because someone referred me, someone knew about me, someone wanted me back. I didn't do
Hmm.
any of the work. In fact, when I did the work, it was disastrous. It was just better to leave it to my friends and band leaders and venue owners to book me, and
Hmm.
that worked very well. So, and that's not like I met a million people and two of them helped me out. No, it's like I met a few hundred people and a bunch of them helped me. So I think that's where people get lost in the, well, I don't want to shake so many hands and I'm nervous and I'm shy and introverted or whatever it is they're dealing with.
You said that networking comes up a lot with
Hmm.
with your folks. Like they know they need to do it, but don't. They don't know how. Well, what's the conversation around there exactly?
Yeah, so my podcast guests are definitely saying like you got to do it, right? But with some of the, let's say, Twitter chats and other things I've done, I would talk a lot about like how it made a difference for me to meet some of the people I've met. Some of them turned out to be investors. Some of them turned out to be band leaders who ended up putting out tens of thousands of dollars in my pocket because of the gigs and the various opportunities we had. And yeah, they were just like, I'm so nervous, or I can't see myself doing that. You talk a lot about networking, but that's making me kind of,
Hmm.
that's what I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, there's digital networking too. Like,
Oh yeah.
so sometimes in-person networking events isn't for you, but you can slide in any DMs with all of the confidence in the world. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big thing to bring up too, is there's plenty of cool groups, LinkedIn, Facebook groups that are really beneficial. I mean, I've found a couple team members just from Facebook groups. So I
Mm.
think that's an approachable thing when it comes to networking that I think people take for granted, obviously, because we just not us, we weren't born with the internet, but we grew up with it. So it's just not something we always just think of. It's just like, oh, it has to be a networking event. Not really.
It's true. Like just the other day, I saw the opportunity to serve some people locally with their businesses because I saw, well, a lot of them have no email lists and no blogs, and I've been helping people build that for ages now. And that didn't really connect or go anywhere. But the point is, like, I reached out to 10 studios, music stores, event centers, and I cold called them just to see if that was something a problem in their business that they wanted to solve.
Cool.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah, you
brilliant.
can. What's the right time to scale your business?
That is a that's a nice question. It's a broad question. I guess it really
True
depends.
enough.
You do and where you're trying to scale it to. I guess I would just tack on to that and say don't always need to scale for the sake of scaling. I think it's important to figure out like what is your trajectory? What's the big outcome you want? Is it to make it, are you trying to make a business that's like Google big, Apple big? Or are you just trying to feed your family?
Hmm.
Because you don't always have to scale. For what I can give you is for our clients, it's like around between 7,000 and $10,000 a month. That's when we can kind of talk about truly scaling and growing, meaning growing the team, scaling ad efforts, things like that. That's at least for our clients. That number is going to be different for everybody. But I think the big thing is the first thing that I said. Figure
Mm.
out where you're trying to scale to. Because I find like having conversations with clients we've had for years, and it's like they're so in the habit of growing. It's like, what's the next step? It's like I have to slow them down and be like, hey man, I'm here to support you, but like, do you need to grow?
Mm.
Like, do you need it? How about stability? How about balance first? Like, let's do $10,000 a month for all this year first. Still kind of scaling, you know what I mean? They keep pushing the boundaries and then they sometimes hit that burnout we talked about earlier. So that didn't really answer your question, but I wanted to tack it in there because I think it's important. Like figure out if you where you want to go to. Find the X on your map and say this is where I want to go. Like start there. Otherwise, you're just gonna grow until you die.
Yeah. I think that's key actually, because a lot of business owners or creatives even will make it their goal to say, let me reach $1 million. And then suddenly the milepost or the milestone has moved to $10 million. And of course, like there's a point that you can reach as a solopreneur. Some will say six figures, some will say seven figures. And if you keep doing it all yourself, team becomes so important to your health, to your, burnout schedule, whatever it might be, that yeah, if you don't start to lean on and delegate and let go, really it's letting go of things, that $10 million dream isn't even worth it. And also, like I heard Russell Brunson say, 20K a month is all you need. Maybe accounting for inflation now, that's 22K, but he can't even spend that much in a month. And this is a guy with, I want to say, 5 kids and a wife, and he's got a great lifestyle, great business, the whole works.
I mean,
So,
let's be clear. I could spend it.
no, of course we
We could
could
spend it,
theoretically, but like if you're
Russell over.
responsible,
Yeah, it could be spent, but
yeah,
I think that is a good point. It's like start first with like, what is the lifestyle you want? That's one of my
yeah,
first coaches I had. Gonna ask that, and I was just like, what do you mean? I've never freaking thought of that before in my life, and it was kind of eye opening to me. It was like, what's the lifestyle day to day? What do you want to do? You want to travel? You want to like just find a place to live and have a family? Like envision what the dream lifestyle is for you and create a goal trajectory around that first. And a lot of people are just like, yeah, blinded by the Russells, the Bezos, and be like, no, I want to be a bajillionaire. That's the goal. It's like, but why? What are you gonna do? You just want to cruise around your super yacht all the time, or do you just want to be able to travel 3 months out of the year and you're happy? So I
yeah.
think that's a good point too. That what you said kind of made me thought of that.
Yeah, you can have a great lifestyle with less, and I'll get to that.
Yeah,
But how did
100%.
you decide to take the leap of faith?
It's a great question. I found a teammate here. His name's Willie, and he was kind of on that trajectory as well.
Hmm.
He's traveling a lot by himself. Him and I took our first, not solo trip, as we were together, duo trip, to Egypt. It was on my list. We were kind of just drinking during COVID, and we were just having some beers at my place. And he was just like, "Where do you want to go? Where would you want to go if you wanted to go anywhere?" I hadn't traveled too much at this point. And I was like, dude, Egypt. I love the pyramids. You see, love just think they're fascinating. I think they're very old and there's so much we don't know about them. So I think they're really, really magical. I was like, I want to go to Egypt. And he's like, let's do it. And I was just like, okay, let's do it. And I think he thought that I was like everybody else that he said that to. And like it's just like a thing they say. And I was like, no, no, let's really do it. And we started planning like instantly. So I think that was like the start of, oh, now we went and traveled and this could actually be all the time. He took the leap himself about a year ago, year and a half ago. And I was just kind of preparing to kind of take the journey with him. So him and I have just been building the business here, traveling full time as of this year. So it's a couple months ago, to be honest. It's
Wow.
April. So January 2nd, we started in Colombia, then Mexico City, went back to the States for a few weeks, and now we're here in Marrakesh, Morocco.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think it just started, definitely helped having somebody there who's like doing it already. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, it's working. Come on out. You know what I mean? But You don't absolutely have to have that. I think the scariest part was like the stability. What happens if? What if this
Hmm.
happens? Really, lifestyle wise, once you make that jump, isn't really that different. We just pay rent like 4 months in advance because we're doing Airbnbs and things like that. But that stability was always really important to me. I'd always had a part-time job to support myself while I built my own business. I worked for Apple for a decade, for 10 years. And the stability was like ingrained in me. So it was just really hard to like let that go. Like, oh, I don't have health insurance. What? I think that goes back to just full circle back to the first thing, having that single offer that was higher ticket, that was consistently bringing in enough money for me to build the lifestyle I wanted. I was able to map it all out, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is approachable. So yeah, now we're here. We're planning to travel the rest of the year, and not sure when we'll ever stop. Not sure yet. It's kind of exciting.
That's great. I like what you said about having someone in front of you that's doing that same thing. I had that as well. It was Greg Will now from Musician Monster. We were in
Mm.
a mastermind group for a little less than a year, but I remember going to the DIY musician conference in Austin, and we were downstairs in the bar drinking beer, and I was just grilling him with questions about, okay, so what about mail? How do you handle mail delivery? And all these little questions that started to come up as I was facing the reality of, oh my gosh, I'm going to travel. But it was, yeah, I'm really grateful for his contribution and what he shared with me in that moment. And even though my journey has looked very, very different than I would have expected, I've been to parts of the States, I've been to good chunks of Western Canada, and the worthwhile places anyway. And
That's cool.
I, yeah, I mean, I've been overseas before. That wouldn't be entirely new to me, but on this nomadic journey or this leg, I haven't been international quite yet. That'll happen.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah,
Latin America is great. They're very,
absolutely.
very welcoming. Its weather is fantastic. Really easy to move around. They typically, Mexico City specifically, will let Americans in 6 months without just visa on arrival. So it's pretty
Hmm.
approachable to kind of set up shop for like a long period of time. Because the way we're moving is more of the true nomadic, which is like we're not getting digital nomad visas, at least yet, where we'd have to apply and stay here for like 2+ years. I think they're pretty easy from our brief knowledge of it to get, but we just stay for 2 to 3 months, like the bare minimum of where you can, and just keep it moving. I kind of like it too, at least right now in my life, where it's just like new experience to go to, from here. We're going to Turkey. We're going to Kenya. We're gonna go see the Great Migration, and it's just like keeps things fresh. It's like you're on a vacation all the time, but you're still working during it. It's
Hmm.
pretty interesting. You get it.
Oh yeah, like most countries will let you stay for about 90 days, and that's just so like, and it's not like you have to travel far. Like once you're in Asia, you could stay in Asia. Once you're in Europe, you could stay in Europe.
Yep.
So you may have a reason to go home once or twice a year, and I totally get that. For some people, that would probably be around tax time because that's what I was asking Greg about. And he said, yes, pretty much go home around tax time to visit the family and get that side of things covered. But yeah, that flexibility is great.
Yeah, it's definitely great.
So you've already touched on a little bit, but why not paint a picture for our listeners? I'm sure they're curious, like what is a digital lifestyle like?
Yeah. Well, first for me specifically, like I said, I was working for Apple for about 10 years in Chicago, and I worked 7 days a week for 10 years. Because on the weekends I'd work for Apple, and then during the week I'd, crank it out on my own business. So making this shift gave me a lot more time. I actually gave me my weekends back. Before that, in high school, I worked like at a movie theater, which is all nights and weekends. So it's like I'm a little kid in the candy store. I'm like, wow, what's a weekend? What's a Saturday night? I didn't even know what that was. So it was really cool for me. So what we usually do is we move through Airbnbs. We do extensive research, make sure the Wi-Fi is really strong.
Right.
This place in particular, we actually hit them up because we are like, it doesn't look like it's going to be that strong. And we're like, hey, we're looking to book ahead for 2 months. which is pretty big for most places. Airbnbs are like, hell yeah, let's do it. And
Yeah.
less work for me. We're like, we're going to do for 2 months, but it's really important we have strong Wi-Fi. So they're like, cool. What if we upgraded you to fiber? I was like, bet. That's like the fastest internet. Let's do that. Usually really accommodating. So we book the Airbnbs like a couple months ahead. During the weeks, we kind of do what I'm doing right now. We kind of just post up here. We can like work in a coffee shop and stuff. We take a lot of like meetings. We kind of need our own space. I do a lot of content up here as well, that requires some space. So during the weeks, we're doing that. On nights, we go out and have dinner, explore a little bit, do a little research. And then on the weekends, we usually do some kind of an exploring, and occasionally nothing. Sometimes we do nothing, which is great too. But while we're at these like exotic places, we really like to dive headfirst into the culture. It's really
Mm.
important to us. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to just do the touristy things. I want to meet locals. I want to make friends. I want to hear about what they're doing. Like we came here in Marrakesh the last week of Ramadan. So it was cool to just experience what that's like. Like, what is fasting life like here during Ramadan? Like, what's open, what's not? Like, we had lots of questions, and the people we talked to here are just really open to telling us more about it. So the weekends are usually around time for us to disconnect from work and
Mm.
connect to wherever we're at. In Colombia, in Medellin, for instance, we took the weekends, and it was really popular for the locals in the city of Medellin to drive out into the mountains, into the smaller towns, like the villages, and just
Hmm.
hang out, have a beer, see the scenery, talk to the locals. Like that was a normal thing, which is crazy to me because in Chicago, it's like I'm in the city. I'm not leaving the city. So it was kind of refreshing. So we went and somehow found a way to rent motorbikes. You just need a driver's license from the US. Rent motorbikes, and we drove out there every weekend. And we'd have a friend that would come with us, and we would just like see the scenery and do what the locals did. So it was really, really cool. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what the life is like. Just working a few months ahead, right? We have a big picture, a grand scheme, but it's also a little bit of like planned chaos, is kind of what
Mm.
we call it, where we kind of have the freedom to be like, yeah, let's go take a cooking class in 2 days. Here, I want to learn how to make some Moroccan food, or let's just do nothing today and watch Netflix or pull up something on our Vision Pro. So it's just a lot more freedom, I think, to be able to explore. Like I said, it's kind of like a full-time vacation, but also not like it at all because we're
Hmm.
definitely working hard during the week and we're dialed in. So hopefully that answers your question. What life is like.
Well, I loved the little negotiation tactic for the Wi-Fi. That's great.
Oh yeah.
And what you said about going outside of the touristy areas, like letting yourself have culture shock, right? Versus the alternative of accidentally running into some slum that you hoped you'd never come across, which is a whole other. Let's avoid all of that. No, I
Yeah.
think it's good. It's good to immerse yourself in the culture and really get the experience. That's important.
Yeah. Culture shock is what I'm after, if I can be honest
Nice.
with you. I want to be completely shocked. I'm, I think there's comfort in things that are comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Things that are known. Oh, this looks familiar, but I don't really want that in my life right now. And I think my buddy Willie is the same way. Like we want to be
Yeah.
shocked. We're both from the Midwest. Like, everybody moves the same, has the kind of same mindset, things like that. I want to branch out of that and see the world right now. I want to be shocked, like a lot. And Marrakesh is shocking for most.
I
It's hard to
bet.
describe. It's a different world. Where we're at right now, we're in Medina. So just a little history lesson from what we've learned while here. We're in Medina, and this like market area, we like live steps away from the main market where they're selling like food and bread and jewelry. These clothes that I bought the other day. But the way this market has been operating basically the exact same way that it is right now for over 1,000 years. I can't even fathom that. So it's just cool to be able to be like, wow, I shopped for clothes probably in the same shop that happened 1,000 years ago. So it's just really, I don't know, just that in itself is just cool. Like 100 decades. My mind can't even fathom that. I can't even think about it. So it's kind of cool. And the US just doesn't have that old of stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's kind of why we focus on international as much as we can, at least right now.
Awesome. And if you plan to go to Asia, you'll definitely have some culture shock out there too.
Yeah, our thing with Asia is just it's going to be tough to work.
Mm.
Well, a lot of our clients are US, Canadian based. Some of them are in like Europe, but
So,
it's like 12-hour difference, right? It's
yeah.
like the opposite day. So we'd have to work and code. Like we have to just be, nocturnal. So that makes it a little tough. But maybe vacation out there and not actually do the nomadic stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure. See, we'll see.
Yeah. And then the prevalent assumption is that you got to be making a lot of money to be able to live a freedom lifestyle, right? But what I've been finding on my journey is that what you really need is more time freedom, because living nomadically is cheaper than living in a major city like New York or LA or Chicago.
Yeah, you definitely don't need, I'm not a millionaire. My, company isn't making millions of dollars. We could be moving a little cheaper than we do. We're doing Airbnbs. You could live nomadically and hit up the hostels that are like $10.
Yeah.
They're usually pretty fantastic, right? You're sharing a space with people. Maybe you have one that's a separate room. Food is usually more affordable. I don't like to use the word cheap, more affordable than what most people are probably used to. And, as we all know, probably, medical care is also a lot more affordable. So the cost of living can be down. So you don't need a lot of money. You
Mm.
absolutely don't. If you want to move around and like buy condos in every place, yeah, you need to have a lot of money, but it's not required. You don't have to be making millions. You don't have to be Russell Brunson status to be
No.
doing this. Like, we just like to do the Airbnbs. It's comparable to the rent I was paying in Chicago when I'm doing this, if I could be transparent here with you.
Yeah.
We could definitely be doing hostels. We could be doing like more affordable hotels, more affordable Airbnbs, but we don't. We spend a lot of time in our space here and that's like our biggest expense.
Mm.
That and flights, right? But I'm not going to get into this too much because I'm not a tax expert, but you
Yeah.
do it the right way, can write a lot of stuff off. Can
Yes.
write a lot of stuff off that goes against what you're making in the eyes of whatever government you're trying to travel from. So look into your tax professional for advice on that. I'm not going to touch on that, everybody, but you can write a lot of things off, especially if you're meeting clients, if you're networking, if you're doing things directly related to your business. You'd be surprised what you can put against your income, which will
Yeah.
help.
Great tip. And yeah, it's true. There is a lot of stuff. I'm not a tax expert either, but look into it for sure. Yeah, it's just so funny. I've had a lot of conversations about, oh, isn't it expensive to travel? And I'm like, I don't know. It's the first flight. Can you afford 400 to 800 bucks to head over to Japan or Thailand? And then from there, your flights get so much cheaper because you're just traveling from local place to local place, or you're even just using ground transportation because it's so well developed over there.
Exactly.
So it
Exactly.
depends how you route your trip. It's like, oh, I'm going to Zurich and then I'm going to Australia. You could end up
Probably
spending
not.
a lot of money. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, there's also just one more tip that I'll have everybody look into. I am not currently doing this, so I'm also not an expert in this, but there is another thing called the FEIE. It
Hmm.
is a tax exclusion specifically for digital nomads, for nomadic people who are not living in the country that they're being taxed in. So what it is at least for US, if you're traveling and you're not in the US for 330 days out of the year, which is pretty much most of the year, you can fall into this. There's lots of stipulations, keep in mind, but you can
Hmm.
fall into this tax category where you don't have to pay taxes at all. Like you can write off like $127,000, which is probably most of the taxes for most of the people that
Yeah.
might be listening to this. It's all of mine. So it's like you could write all of that off. There are boxes you need to check, but if you were really serious about that, there are ways to cut down on expenses like taxes is a big expense for a lot of people and
Hmm.
still travel full time. So look into that FEIE. It's really it's an interesting category that's been popping up more and more ever since COVID, and like digital nomadacy is like kind of a newer thing. I feel like not newer thing, but like more people are doing it now, I think. So check that out.
Love it. And I imagine there are some incentives out there too, just for the sake of travel, because tourism went down in such a significant way during COVID, and they're still on a recovery path, I would say.
Yeah, there's some countries that will pay you money to come and live there,
Exactly.
like thousands of dollars. Like, hey, could just you want to come live here? I swear it's cool. And a lot of them are not. They're not like gross places. Like they're nice places. I think there's a couple places in Europe that'll do that. But yeah, there's definitely ways to do it. If you really are your biggest hurdle when deciding to do it is deciding to do it. You know what I mean?
That's
Ripping off the band and saying, this is what I want to do. And once you do that, you'll find, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, there's things I can do to offset my fears and my hesitations. Okay. So decide that you want to do it first. Otherwise, you're gonna have every excuse. Oh no, that's too hard. Oh, that's too scary. So just make that leap if that's something you want to do. That's what I would advise.
I totally agree. It is all about the decision. Because me personally, I don't always like riding planes. I don't always like driving through flat, wide open spaces. But
Yeah. It-
in the grand scheme of things, that's like a few hours, and then I get to enjoy myself the rest of the time, right?
yep.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me on creativity, excitement, emotion, Evan. Is there anything else we should have covered here?
No, I think that's everything. Thanks for having me again. This is a was a cool open conversation. Open to it anytime. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, dude.
Unlock the secrets to skyrocketing your productivity, boosting performance, and maximizing profits with my latest premium guide, the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Blackbook. Tailored for independent artists and entrepreneurs, this comprehensive resource is your roadmap to turning ideas into reality. Say goodbye to abandoned projects collecting dust on your shelves or buried in your hard drives. It's time to bring your vision to life. Grab your free copy of the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Blackbook now at davidandrewweeb.com/blackbook. That's WIEBE. Don't miss out on the key to unlocking your success.